Metal Gear Solid 4 Integral Podcast. Broadcasted from Konami HQ in downtown Tokyo, it's the world-renowned Metal Gear Solid 4 Integral Podcast.
Alright, welcome to episode number 9 of the MGS4 Integral Podcast. My name is Sean Eyestone, and as always, I'm here with Aki Saito.
Hi, everyone.
And producer Ken Imaizumi.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, Sean, we're in the latter half of Shadow Moses.
Right, so we are in the Shadow Moses nuclear warhead storage building, first floor. So at the beginning of the show, this time, we'd like to try something a little bit different.
Okay.
I think I'd like to just ask everybody what everyone's favorite drama scene in Metal Gear Solid 4.
That's a tough one. Sean, do you have already one?
For me, yeah, there's a lot. There's so much drama in the game that it's hard to choose just one. And this is a spoiler, by the way, so anyone listening, if you don't want spoilers, just turn it off now. But I think for me personally, it's that scene at the end where, Big Boss makes his appearance. That just really got it for me. As a Metal Gear Solid fan, seeing Big Boss come back, and then that last scene, where he's smoking his last smoke and nods off in the grave. That nails it for me. A really great scene.
Well, for me, the part I liked, which I cracked up for about 5 minutes, was the part when Liquid seems to die, battling with the Metal Gears. The famous, the boss battle scene. You get to ride the Metal Gear.
Right.
He rides his Metal Gear and things like that. And then he seems to die. And he say, in the English version, I think he says, think again. When he, in that crucial moment. But in Japanese, it was a little bit more hilarious.
Yeah.
So one of the famous line.
Yeah.
The fox died.
Yeah, fox died. Janai. Janai means not, or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So the original translation, I saw the script, was not, actually.
Not, yeah.
Fox die. Not.
Right.
But this was a little not so funny, so I think a lot of people changed it.
Yeah.
To think again.
Yeah, not was little classic. I mean, little old, like Wayne's World.
Yeah, it's kind of like,
type, like a 1980.
Like in the 90s, you'd say something, then
not.
There's that kind of gag. I guess it felt a little bit
And then
old.
it went to, I think, if I could remember it correctly, just kidding, or something like that. It went to several phrases during the translation.
Right.
Anyways, that scene, and after he gets up, he kind of runs really in a cute style, like a girly way.
Right.
Like almost jumping.
Jumping and skipping,
laughing.
And
and that really, I cracked up. And that's one of my favorite cutscenes. Ken?
We had a really hard time to do motion capture with writing part. So when he fight versus Vamp, the South American part.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah, with the geckos, right?
Yeah, with the gecko. Yeah, that part. When we are doing the motion capture. Writing guy, he was trying to do like a breakdance kind of, turn.
Yeah.
And we use a wire and stuff. We spent so much time to do the motion capture because we failed so many times, and and the motion team worked really, really hard, and then finally finished. Those whole sequence. It was so decent.
Yeah. Well, that was. I think it's safe to say that was one of the most stunning cutscenes.
I remember that was like the turning point when writing became cool.
Yeah. Did you know the part Sean's most favorite cutscene? The big boss.
Yeah, the ending.
Yeah. That motion capture session was the very last part of the session. The guy who did a big boss, he was the snake voice.
Mr. Otsuka's?
Yeah, Mr. Otsuka's, first motion capture trial. He kept on saying like he wanted to do the motion capturing, and then Hideo said, that's okay, let's do that. And then he joined, and he had to do big boss part.
Yeah, but if I remember correctly, the voiceover was done by Mr. Otsuka's father, right?
Yeah. So one of the famous voice
actors in Japan.
Wow. Oh, I didn't know that.
So the motion capture was done by Mr. Otsuka, Aki Otsuka, who does the voice for in a sense, or he's very famous in Japan. But he did the motion capture, and then his father did the voiceover, looking at his son's motion capture.
Oh, that's really
cool. Isn't it cool?
Right?
Yeah. Okay, so everyone, thanks for listening to our chat. I think Sean's really revved up to introduce the latter half of Shadow Moses. Shall we give it a go, Sean?
Yep. So everybody should be at the nuclear warhead storage building, first floor. You just crawled in from under the shutter. And we're at our checkpoint, start of the stage. First thing I want to point out is that, as with the previous stages in Shadow Moses and with almost all the stages in Shadow Moses, the item placement in this stage is pretty accurate and, follows a lot of the item placement from the first game. So, people may remember to the left here, if you go towards that window, you can get a ration at the end of that. Just something for people who play the original Metal Gear, something for them to keep an eye out for. Maybe they might get a kick out of seeing items in the same spot. But anyway, let's just go ahead, proceed down this slope, and head into the building.
Okay, let's walk up. I've been saying many times, but I hate this stage. I mean, this for me is was the most difficult stages ever.
Really?
Yeah, for me, I really had a hard time.
Sean's gonna cry.
Yeah.
I know. We talked about this before.
Yeah. He spent such a long time. Yeah, to create this stage.
So we just crawled under the
gate. I mean, what do you call?
The first shutter. The first shutter.
Right. And so we're in this area, that people will probably recognize from Metal Gear Solid 1, where there's the nuclear warheads in the hangar. First thing I want to point out is if you go ahead and put in your solid eye and look at the ground, you'll see that, Vamp's footprints, Vamp and Nomi's footprints are here as well. They were in the previous stage. We really wanted to just get the personality behind Vamp and Nomi into these footprints. So you'll see that they don't just, head straight on through to the back. They kind of wander around. Nomi takes a slightly curvy path, takes a look inside of the truck, things like that. And one thing, at the end of the first Moses stage, when you're in the corridor with the lasers, if you use your solid eye there and look at the ground, you can see Vamp's footprints there. And there's actually some pretty funny footprints there, because he's kind of dancing around, and you can see, Frost footprints. He's kind of doing that dance that he does, Other than that, what I really want to point out in this stage is that there's a lot of detail here that wasn't here in previous Metal Gears, but finally the team was able to get this looking exactly the way they want to look.
Yeah, high def.
High def, and a lot of detail, glare on the floor.
I mean, but it's really interesting I think most of the users realize that there's not a big change, although technically there's a lot of big change. But I when I first stepped into Shadow Moses, I thought it was like just doing MGS1 again.
Right.
But come to think of it, yes. It's all, like a blocked up, MGS1 because of the power of PlayStation. It's all like blocked and things like that. It's not as accurate and well drawn as this. But you get the feeling that it's the same stage. So it's really, I don't know, people really get used to these high-tech things.
Yeah. One thing that's kind of funny, you talk about really the blocked-up look from Metal Gear Solid 1. But, talking to the staff that actually worked on Metal Gear Solid 1, there's a reason for why these missiles are covered up with tarps. And that's actually so that they could cut down the polygon count in the original game. They wanted to have just, a whole bunch of missiles in this room. But, they couldn't put it all in there. So they decided to put tarps over some of the crates, hide half of the missile under a tarp so they could kind of trim back the polygon count. And, in addition, if you look at the windows around this room, now if you look at them, you can see that there's missiles on the other side of those windows. So there's other hangars with a lot more missiles in them. But of course, with the original Metal Gear, that wasn't really an option. So now, this is finally able to come through the way Hideo Kojima really wanted it.
Well, thanks, PlayStation.
Yeah, thank you,
your computer.
But anyways, let's go on. So we're looking at the rockets.
So head to the north,
straight
to the rear,
straight
the rear of the hangar, and you'll get to the gate. So let's just head over there. On the way, there's a truck on your left. If you want to crawl in there, you can get a FIM 92A. So just move on, and when you get to the end, to this control panel, you'll get a call from Autocon. So he'll tell you the door's locked, you gotta get the password, and then he'll activate the elevator for you. So let's just head straight to the elevator and head on down, because there's a lot of cool stuff down there.
Okay. So we climb up the catwalk.
Right, climb up the catwalk, head to the second floor, and then just go around, follow the catwalk until you get to the elevator. And one thing, this is going way back during the concept planning stages for the stage. Originally, the stage was more of an action-oriented stage. One of the ideas was that you could actually take the elevator down to the bottom.
Really?
And access a secret base, things like that. But, in the end, we decided we really wanted to emphasize more of the nostalgic aspect of Moses. Okay, so let's go ahead and call the elevator. There's something about this also. People who played the original Metal Gear may remember that if you rapidly press the elevator button, the elevator actually will come faster.
Oh,
That's preserved in here also. We wanted to have that in there for the fans. In real life, because that's what you do, right? You're in a rush, you press it. You want it to come quickly.
But the elevator
It never comes.
No.
Yeah. In this game, you can do it, and it will come a little bit faster.
Okay, so we head to which floor?
B2.
You head down to B2.
Uh-huh. This elevator.
Well, Metal Gear Solid 1, when you ride and then change the floor, and then when they're showing that, moving the floor to floor, they're loading behind
In the background?
Like in the background.
Yeah. But this time, the PlayStation 3 is so powerful, so much memory, so we don't have to do that download in the background.
This time you can get on the elevator and walk around and shoot.
While you're in the elevator. You can do whatever you want.
That's why in MGS1 you couldn't do anything. And once you're in the elevator, and when the elevator's moving.
Right.
So that was a trick.
That was a trick. I think a lot of people didn't realize it, or the people who did realize it were really hardcore.
Okay, where we go, Sean?
Okay, so the first thing we want to do is head out into the hallway, step forward a little bit to the south, and then turn to your right, and you want to head to the west. And when you get into this room, you'll see control panel on your right. It's kind of blown up. And of course, people will recognize this control panel from Metal Gear Solid 1.
Yes.
This is, of course, where you used the Nikita missile and blew it up. But, it's not completely destroyed. And for people who maybe didn't realize it, you can actually use this, you can still activate the electric floor in the hallway from here using the Mark III. And you can actually use this to electrocute the gecko that comes down in the later half of the stage.
Oh.
Did you know this?
No, I didn't know.
Yes, a lot of people had a hard time to beat the gecko this part.
Yeah.
But, what you're supposed to do, or, the best strategy is after the gecko drops down, then you kind of go back into the hallway, hide behind the door, and then use your Mark III and send him over to this control panel and activate the electric floor while the gecko's in the hallway. And you can take him down really quickly. On top of that, you'll also get some driven points as a bonus.
Wow.
Very quick way to beat the gecko.
You didn't tell me that.
I didn't know that.
Oh, okay.
Just kidding. I knew it.
Yeah, when I was playing, you didn't tell me that. Okay.
But, we really wanted to put this in also just, because we had that electric floor in the hallway and we really wanted to use it again. Yeah, it's something that, players will remember from the first one. Definitely wanted to use that in some way. So you can use that on the gecko. For people who want to try it, you can also use it on Snake. So if you have Snake stand in the hallway and you send the Mark III down here, you can electrocute Snake also. Which doesn't sound too impressive, but, we had to make a motion just for that.
That's why it's taking a long time to do.
Yeah.
Sean, it took so much time creating this level.
No, it's just, you gotta put the details in there, especially for the fans.
Okay, one reason I hate this stage, nothing against personally to you, Sean, is about, the gecko.
Right.
And when you have all these dwarf geckos, kind of like trying to sneak through.
Right.
And not even get spotted by the geckos nor the dwarf geckos. And, once you get spotted, you're like hammered.
Yeah. There's a way to do it.
Yeah, tell me in this stage, how do you do it?
Well, in this stage, of course, at the end, after you finish talking to Autocon and restoring the power to the stage, you come back up the elevator, and, there's a gecko that follows you up.
Yeah.
You're supposed to distract the gecko while Autocon opens the door. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But there's actually a faster way to get through it, and that is just to, destroy the gecko. And so this applies to all the gecko in the game. The weakness is their leg, right? They have very weak legs. So if you aim for the knees, you can actually bring them down. And once they're on their knees and they're on the ground, you can aim at the head. And there's a weak point right at the top of the head. If you equip your solid eye and look at it, it'll actually show you the weak point. And say, shoot here, basically. They kind of have a triangular head.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at it from above, it's kind of in the middle. More or less in the middle.
Yeah.
So if you shoot at that particular area, then you can very quickly take out the gecko. So even using something like, your M4 Custom or just any type of gun, you can quickly hit the legs and then hit the head right after that, and you can take them down pretty quickly.
Any other Gecko episodes?
Well, there's the Gecko, and then there's also, as you mentioned, the Dwarf Gecko.
Yeah, I hate those.
Yeah, you hate those. I think everybody hates the Dwarf Gecko. But, we wanted to add some kind of personality to the stage that's different from everywhere else. Mm-hmm. And so, the idea was you have these Dwarf Geckos that just kind of swarm out and smother you. But, there's a way around these as well. Of course, you can just shoot at them with, rapid fire. And that works. If you're trying to sneak by them, you can also use tranquilizer rounds on the Dwarf Gecko as well.
Really?
But you have to aim for the arms.
The arms.
Yeah, if you hit that orb part in the center, they'll just, realize they're there. They're found. But if you aim very carefully and hit the arms, you can actually incapacitate them.
I always got the feeling that the dwarf geckos are much more, smarter than normal guards and things like that. Just a feeling.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, they're mechanical, so they follow, set routes and patterns because they're supposed to be a machine. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, they're very sensitive. They have very good hearing, especially. So you really have to walk slowly while you're around them. If you run by, they'll hear you running. Mm-hmm. They'll come after you. So, I think, the key is just to kind of walk slowly, use your tranquilizer guns to get past, particularly challenging areas.
Yeah.
And then also, of course, if you have chaff, you can use a chaff grenade. Mm-hmm. That makes things really, really easy.
Well, at the really end of the game, I really kind of gave up and I just ran through the dwarf geckos. Someone told me this technique, just run through it.
Right.
Just dive and run through it.
Well, that works.
That works. Yeah, because, you want to head to the next cutscene or whatever.
Right.
Or the next stage. I just kind of ran through everyone. But anyways, okay.
Yeah. But, if you do fight them, though, there is a reward that you can get for taking them out. And you can get a very rare weapon from these dwarf geckos.
Oh, really?
If you destroy enough of them, they'll drop a DE, which is the handgun.
Yeah.
It's a really good handgun.
Yeah,
it's a very rare handgun.
Yeah.
And the only enemies that drop them are these dwarf geckos.
I see. Mm-hmm.
All right. So, anyway, from this room now, let's head to the west, and we'll go through this other lab section. Mm-hmm. So head to the west, and then you'll see a door on the south. So head through that door. And here you'll actually get a call from Autocon, and he's kind of reminiscing on the room, talking about the damage that you did to the control panel.
Yeah.
And, you want to talk about that?
Yeah. Well,
that was actually left in intentionally, though.
Really? We were talking about this demo sequence when Autocon comes up, and then he kind of has this habit of, how do you say it?
He's kind of pushing his glasses up with his finger.
Yeah, even though he doesn't have his glasses anymore.
Right.
So I asked Sean, was this deliberately made? And the producer, Kim made a funny face, saying maybe it was kind of it's not a bug, is it?
No.
Okay,
it's not.
Good. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
No, that's something that a lot of people had issues with. Also, they said, is that right? Because he doesn't have glasses, but, yes, that was intentional. If anybody who wears glasses, I think they can attest to it. If suddenly you just switch to contacts and you've been wearing glasses all your life, you probably will.
Okay.
Yeah, well, no watch, and then you,
look at the watch?
keep on,
Look at the wrist, your wrist.
Right.
Sometime.
Okay.
That's the same thing.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I thought it slipped through the thousands of checking.
No.
Okay.
It's not a bug.
Okay. All right, let's go. Okay, we're in this room. I remember all these papers and things like that.
So let's just head to the south of the room. And at the very southern end of the room, you'll find an item. And this is the Metal Gear 20 Years History.
Oh.
Part 2. So people who want to relive the music of the Metal Gear series, it's kind of a medley of all the Metal Gear series music strung together in an orchestra format, which is really cool. Okay, so next what we want to do is crawl under this desk at the south end of the room. And then head to the east.
The East Hall.
Yeah, you'll find yourself in a hallway.
With the electrifying... this is the electrifying floor, right?
Right. One thing to point out, though, on the left here also, if you go to the farthest room on the north, nearest the elevator, people who played the first one, they may remember there's like a Moai statue in the room.
Moai statue?
Moai statue.
Do you know that?
No.
No?
No. Moai statue?
Yeah.
Do you know Moai statue?
If you head to the north,
Yeah.
and just head to the glass door, number 1.
Room number 1?
Room number 1.
Yeah.
And look in there.
Oh.
You'll see that Moai head from Gradius.
Yes.
Yeah.
Konami's kind of icon.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's still there. Yeah, we actually paid a lot of close attention to that while we were making this. So all the rooms, have the same type of items in them. Anyway, so from this point, backtrack and head to the east. You'll head through this doorway and head into this hallway where you hear a flashback. with Ninja, right?
Yes.
From the Ninja sequence in Metal Gear Solid 1.
Yeah, the corridor, or the hall with all the blood and, there's a lot of dead bodies at
Right,
that time.
right. So we're just going to head through here and head to Autocon's room, but stop right before you enter the room and actually end here for this session. Because once you enter Autocon's room, there'll be a long cutscene. But we would like to talk about some other things in this stage. People may not realize is, when you are in the cutscene, Autocon asks you to input, the passcode for, the computer. And there's actually several codes that you can put in that aren't actually the correct code. But they'll give you some special bonuses.
Cool.
So I think we'll go ahead and explain those codes.
Okay. Name one.
Okay, so the first one is 78925. And that'll give you the old LA 2040 music.
Ooh.
Where's that from, Ken?
Police notes, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Police Knots. There is the Police Knots poster in the room
Yeah,
also.
yeah.
So, I think a lot of people at least kind of heard of Police Knots,
Well,
even if
yeah.
they haven't played it.
I think a lot of Kojima fans know about Police Knots and Snatcher in general anyway.
Yeah, Snatcher and Police notes, yeah.
And, one more code is another Police Knots song, and that is 13462. People want to hear the ending song from Police Knots. 13462 is the code for that.
Wow. Well, what happens? I mean, I didn't try this. The tune goes on?
You basically get the iPod track.
Oh, okay,
right?
okay.
So you input this code,
Uh-huh.
and then after the cutscene ends, it returns you to the game, and then you get a message at the bottom of the screen saying that you got that iPod track.
Okay,
So then
okay.
after that, you can go ahead and start up your iPod and listen to it.
Cool.
But one thing to point out is that if you put in these codes, it's actually the wrong code.
Yeah.
So, Autocon will tell you, Snake, you're getting old, you don't remember, and this kind of thing. And, of course, Snake his feelings will be hurt, and his sight gauge will go down. But, there is actually like a little trick you can do to regain some psych during these cutscenes. Because there are several places where your sight gauge will decrease during the cutscene.
Yeah,
but if you rapidly press, the circle button, you can actually regenerate
Oh, really?
some of that psych.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Does this apply to every time?
So every cutscene where you
like
see...
when Sunny kind of says, don't smoke in here, and your sight gauge goes
Right,
low,
right.
you could still tap it.
Yeah. So whenever you see the sight gauge start to go down, just start tapping really quick, and you can
Did
fight
you know
it.
this?
I didn't know this, really.
Oh.
I'm really the first time I played MGS4, no one told me anything. I mean, even Autocon was not programmed to give hints. So,
Even Autocon wouldn't help you.
yeah, it was one of the
Just
most...
pop up the screen, but he doesn't talk.
Yeah, he doesn't talk. Or he talks about some other things, right?
Yeah.
Right,
The program's all screwed up. So that's my first impression. I'm doing my fourth at home recently, very slowly.
Cool. So you have time to properly
Yes.
explore and
Yes.
enjoy everything.
I mean, I'm more relaxed because I know what happens.
Right.
But when it's the first time, I mean, I really enjoyed the first time experience. So I missed a lot of things, like we're explaining in the Integral Podcast. Like, this is the detail and that thing. And I think a lot of listeners are same with me. Even though they kind of seem to explore everything, what you tell, guys, Ken and Sean, talks on this show, is probably 80% of the people kind of, oh, I didn't know that thing.
Yeah.
If people zip through the game.
Yeah. So definitely, it pays to replay the game.
Yeah.
And actually, for these two particular items, you need to replay the game to get both of them because you can only get one at a time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
During that cutscene, you can only put in one code.
Yes.
So you'll have to get one or the other for these soundtracks. So for people who want to collect all the iPod tracks,
Wow.
they actually have to play through more than once.
I never even thought about trying to collect all these.
Well, there are people who do.
That's why it's taking a long time
I'm
to
a
do the
Luke.
testing and,
Yeah.
I'm a lukewarm player, I say.
Yeah, and of course we had to debug all of this, we'd play it through over and over and make sure
Cool.
all the flags were set. And
Yes, cool.
Yeah, so
Okay.
hopefully people will appreciate that.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, one more code just to throw out there. This is something for people who want to have a little bit of help in the game. You can get some extra Drebin points from this password segment also. And the code for that is 14893. And you'll actually get 100,000 Drebin points from that. So that's a huge bonus.
Yeah.
So for people who want to get that, that's something they can do. If they think they need a little extra help and they want to buy some rare weapons.
All right.
Okay, so then one other thing, we mentioned the police nuts poster in the room also. And people will remember from the last stage, we pointed out that you could take, pictures of the ghosts in the stage. And this is actually a really good ghost to take a picture of, because this is where you can take Hideo Kojima's picture, in ghost form.
Cool.
He's right next to the police nuts poster on the left. So for people who want to collect all of the ghostly images throughout Shadow Moses, you can get Director Kojima's picture here.
Yes, this is the biggest one, isn't it? Hideo's ghost picture. Yes, really weird ideas, which is really fun for the fans.
Yeah.
Really weird idea. Okay.
Okay, and one other thing, after you watch the cutscenes and you restore power to the Shadow Moses facility, as we touched on in the last episode, if you return back to the tank hangar and go up to the second floor catwalk, you'll remember that there was that room that we couldn't get into last time.
Oh, because it's locked.
Right.
Or the power is
Right.
Yeah.
But, it's kind of locked and you can't get in. But this time, you restore the power and the computer system's back up and Autocon disables all the security, so you can go back there and pick up an iPod track in that room.
Wow.
So people who want to backtrack can go ahead and grab that.
Okay. I know the geckos have these voices. And these are supposed to be the very calm of cicadas and cows and the moose and things like that.
Right.
And I heard from Hideo at the very beginning of the development when he was thinking about these geckos. He wanted to make, he has always this golden rule of keeping the tension, tightening it, loosening it, and tightening it so that the overall tension is really tight.
Right.
So he told me that for these geckos, even they look so kind of like, when you first look at them, they're almost like disgusting, right? Because they're like, you don't know if they're mechanic or animals or,
kind of creepy.
Yeah, very creepy. But he said he wanted to create this sound where people kind of, just forget that they're in the war zone or in a battle. And all these cicadas and the, cow sounds supposed to bring you the, relaxing mood.
Right.
And these are really, really, nasty guys, the geckos.
Yeah.
And when you're in this relaxing mood, they're really trying to kill you. Is that true? Was that deliberately made that way?
It was, but I think it's also, it's just a really creepy sound, because it's kind of like, you're up against nature. It's kind of like this wild beast, right? And it's not like you said, it's mechanical, but it's organic, and it's kind of scary because it's mooing at you like, making these weird sounds, and so it's definitely something that doesn't feel manufactured like a robot.
Sean, that kind of wraps up this session of Shadow Moses. Did you talk everything you wanted? I mean,
There's a lot to talk about, but I don't think we have time for that. We only have about half an hour.
We just want to tell everyone that we cut like 3 hours of recording session.
Yeah.
Sean went on and on about his...
Well, he has so much memory and some like good stuff. And
you spent how many years on this?
About 2 years.
2 years, but 2 years, but
times 24 hours times
times 24 hours times like 7 days a week or something.
Okay. Well, I hate to really cut it, Sean, but we got to go on to our next stage, which is the last stage.
Right. So we'll be moving on to Haven.
Yes.
Yeah. Finally, last stage. It's kind of sad, isn't it?
That's sad.
Yeah, because our Integral Podcast program is kind of coming to a finale as well.
Yeah.
But I guess people will play on and on listening to this podcast whenever they feel like it. For the final, we're going to have maybe call a guest or something,
Yeah.
To join, to give us more color details.
Yeah, maybe we should. Yeah, call somebody.
Because the producer doesn't remember anything.
I'm sorry.
And I'm so lukewarm. And Sean's the only guy who can really guide us, so we need some guests. So Ken's gonna bring maybe a guest.
Yeah.
If possible.
I think so. Well, we have some people, who wanted to join this Integral Podcast.
Right.
So Sean, where's our next meeting point?
So we'll pick up at Haven right after you finish launching onto the ship. and you should be on the ship Bow. That's the name of the stage. So just go ahead and save after that cutscene ends, and we'll pick up from there and guide you through Haven.
Great. Okay, well, once again, thanks, John, and thanks, Ken.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And hope we'll meet soon, and it's our final stage that we're going to introduce, which is the Haven. So make sure you play. Well, make sure you play Shadow Moses a lot, just for sake of, Sean.
Yeah.
So play as much as you can in Shadow Moses. Find everything you can. And then we'll meet you in a couple of weeks.
Yep, sounds good.
Well, thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Alright, that's gonna wrap up this edition of the Metal Gear Solid 4 Integral Podcast. Check back next time for more tips, tricks, and insider info on Metal Gear Solid 4. Brought to you by Kojima Productions and Hideo Kojima himself. Make sure to send in your comments to Hideo Blog. See you next time.